Welcome to History Road. So on the last video, my first video where I was just in the garage here talking, ended up having literally 3 of dozens of people subscribe. And so that's a lot of pressure. Now I feel like I got to make it real. But it also got me excited because I got to thinking, I could have 50 subscribers by the end of the year. Wow. We have small dreams. Anyway, enough nonsense. Let's hit the road. Let's get up to the Tehachapi Loop. Today we're going to learn about railroading history in California and how we built the second transcontinental railroad over the Tehachapi Mountains. Let's go.
The history of railroading in California really started with the history of the state itself. In 1849, gold was found in the American River up near Sacramento, and a rush of settlers came to California looking to make it rich.
So when I first bought this bike, buddy Jared and I were driving right through here, and you're going to see this railroad crossing. Well, I jumped on it right after this railroad crossing, and then couldn't see Jared behind me. Turn around and come back. Oh, there it goes. And it was a little homemade license plate bracket that was on this bike that looked so cool, snapped off. Go back and get it. Thankfully I had saddlebags, put it in the saddlebag. I just ordered a regular one. I ain't trying to be fancy.
The search for a route to create a southern transcontinental railroad began in 1853. In reality, there was sort of a race on to see where we would build the transcontinental railroad. Would it go to the north or to the south? Clearly, both areas of the country pushing their interests. Well, in 1853, several surveys began of potential southern routes over the Walker, Tehachapi, and Tejon passes. The Walker and Tejon passes far too difficult for a train to go through, and so ultimately Tehachapi would be settled upon. Well, the guide, Alex Gody, who's actually from my dad's hometown of Woodville, California, led those surveys and was the one to really suggest Tehachapi. Well, in 1859, 10 years after gold was found in the American River, silver and gold were found in Nevada at the Comstock Lode. By then, California's economy had already started to transition away from gold and into agriculture. Indeed, by the 1860s and 70s, California was selling more wheat than all but one other state, and was vital to the food supply in Europe. Well, we needed food to get over to Nevada to feed the people working in the Comstock Lode, and so they went over the Donner Pass, and that eventually became the Transcontinental Railroad.
Sand. I do not like sand.
In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, with the Golden Spike being driven at Promontory Point by the California governor, Leland Stanford. Well, fast forward to 1867, and 2 years after the Civil War, General Palmer was sent to retrace the routes that Alex Gody had taken the surveyors on in 1853. And he decided that Tehachapi was the proper pass for the train to go through, and that Bakersfield was the best stop before heading up the mountain, and the best place to cross the Kern River. Well, by the 1870s, track is being laid from Sacramento south and by the Central Pacific Railroad, and the Southern Pacific Railroad is looking for a way across Tehachapi. Because they figured out a method for crossing Tehachapi, the Southern Pacific was purchased by the Central Pacific Railroad, and by 1874, they had built railroad all the way down to Delano, some 30 miles north of Bakersfield. Well, the Central Pacific Railroad tried to change the name of Bakersfield a couple times, and the people got very upset. They wanted to name it Kern City, they wanted to name it Sumner, and the people were outraged each and every time, to the point that Leland Stanford, governor of California, had to come down to Bakersfield, walk the streets with the 700 some odd inhabitants of Bakersfield on those dirt roads at the time, where they had about nine saloons and unnumbered count of brothels and one Methodist church. And he assured the people of Bakersfield that Bakersfield was incredibly important to him. It was going to stay Bakersfield, and Bakersfield was going to be the stop on the route. That, of course, was false, because they actually tried to build the stop east of town at Edison and east of town in what's now known as East Bakersfield, before finally settling on what today is called Old Town Kern. Well, that was about a mile from Bakersfield, so the Bakersfield Road Department immediately built a road out to the railroad in order to take advantage of it being there, and Bakersfield just kind of took it over and made Bakersfield the stop on the way from San Francisco to Los Angeles. See, before the Tehachapi Pass or the Tehachapi Mountains were crossed, if you wanted to go to Los Angeles from San Francisco, you had to get on a steamboat. Well, by the time they built the railroad down to Bakersfield in 1874, you could get on a train in the evening in San Francisco, ride to Bakersfield, and in the morning get off and get onto a horse-drawn carriage to take you over the Tejon Pass and down to Southern California, where you could get on another train to Los Angeles. In total, it was about a 28-hour drive, 28-hour trip, which was impressive for the time because it took about twice that long on a steamship.
And here we are, the world famous Tehachapi Loop. There you go. So you can see the train just starting out right there by the tree. That's a better view. Hopefully the GoPro is getting this because it's So this is considered one of the 7 wonders of the railroading world. 2 are in California, actually. It's also considered one of the 7 wonders of the engineering world. Like I said, my friends and I, we like to come up here because it's a quick little ride. Nice to ride. Then we ride in the hills around here. But we've met people from all over the world here. Obviously this year with COVID, not so much, but in the past I've met people here from Germany coming to see the Tehachapi Loop. I've met people from Australia, England, Brazil. So people from all over the world come here to see the Tehachapi Loop, which is really, it's a, you know, even today, by today's standards, it's an incredible feat of engineering. Train was fairly long, so it'll probably cross over itself. Unfortunately, from where we're at, I don't think you're going to be able to see it cross over itself. But you can see where the train is coming from down there in the lower right side, and you can see that it's about to cross over. Oh, you know, if we get over here, you can see the end of the train You see the end of the train that's still headed down the hill to go through the tunnel, while the other portion of the train is actually crossing over it. So
I'll speed it up just a little bit as we let that train cross over itself and head through the loop. You know, sometimes it can take a train up to 10 minutes to make it through the loop, depending on the length of the train. This is truly an impressive feat of engineering, especially when you consider that it was completed in September of 1876 by some 3,000 Chinese laborers working mostly with hand tools. Those laborers were able to build not only the first American railroad helix, which is the Tehachapi Loop, but also 10 tender bridges, 18 tunnels, 9 horseshoe curves, where you can stand in the middle and have the train be on both sides of you as it makes its switchbacks through the mountains. A truly impressive feat, even if it was done today, but especially considering that it was done in 1876 with mostly hand tools. From here, the train will continue up to Tehachapi before going across into the desert, where it separates and heads across the country or down into the Los Angeles region.
All right, so that is the Tehachapi Pass. Trying to make this kind of a quick one since it's the first one. I wasn't sure, how much detail y'all might want me to go into. If you think I should go into more detail on the history, the names and the dates and so on, please let me know in the comments below. If you like the more like general story, go ahead and put that in the comments also. And I look forward to making the next one. I think up next we'll go to Havilah. All right, take care. And thank you for joining History Road. Don't forget, hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that kind of stuff. Apparently it helps the channel. I don't even know. All right, take care.